She's got long legs and short shorts, but she ain't got no teeth. She wears a red bandana on her head and she smiles so sweet. She'll steal your heart, a very first sight should rip apart your soul. She'll torture your mind and waste your time and drag you down the road, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning into the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. This is episode 19. My name is Ashley Feller. I'm a third-generation Panama City native, musician, and singer-songwriter. This week, I'll be sharing live music events for the upcoming weekend of March 12th through 14th, as well as art and community events. And I'm also happy to feature a recorded interview with Ben Liggin of Native Spirit Museum and Gallery, which is located at 1101 Beck Avenue, and this was recorded at Floriopolis last Wednesday. I had a great time learning from Ben about the Native American presence here in Bay County, and I hope you'll stay tuned to enjoy the interview. Following the interview, I'll be sharing an old news selection from the St. Andrews Bay News from March 12th in 1935, and I'd like to thank y'all so much for pressing play, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. Are you ready for the weekend? There's so much to see and do in salty St. Andrews, so let's start with the music events. Starting this Friday at 5 p.m., join the jazz duo Class Act at the Shrimpboat at 5 p.m., and then across the way at Los Antojitos, enjoy sipping margaritas while you listen to a wide array of Americana music by Anthony Peebles at 6 p.m. Across Lake Ware, you can hear your favorite acoustic variety songs by Chris Wade, also at 6 p.m., and if you're in the mood for an elegant dining experience, trot down to Alice's on Bayview because you're in for a serious treat. Jimmy Ward is playing this Friday night. For those unfamiliar, Jimmy Ward is one of the greatest jazz guitarists this area has ever known. But if you're a little bit country and you enjoy a nice cold craft beer, then you should visit the Taproom at 6 with music by Luke Langford. If you enjoy drinks and having dinner outdoors, then I recommend indulging in a delicious meal and cocktails upstairs at Uncle Ernie's and enjoy beautiful music made by John Cannon. John's music is the perfect touch to a relaxed, peaceful evening overlooking St. Andrews Bay. Sometimes you just have to dance your cares away, so parade yourself upstairs or take the elevator to the House of Bourbon and cut a rug to Skint Up, who is performing at 7 p.m. And if you're still out and about and need drinks and music, then I would like to suggest visiting the Salty Hobo because Brooke Washor, who plays a great array of country and pop songs, is playing just for you at 9 p.m. The market at St. Andrews is every Saturday morning and opens at 8 a.m. in the lot next to the Shrimpboat. There are a number of fantastic arts and crafts vendors, food trucks, and live music that is brought to you by Floriopolis begins at 10 a.m. This week, the featured musician is Knapps. The market is always interested in different musicians, so if you'd like to play at the market, please send me an email at ashley.feller@gmail.com, or you can always private message the podcast. The Floriopolis Music and Art Tent is usually located by the food trucks on Beck Avenue. Following the market, march yourself down to the Taproom with music by Rhett Plash. The Taproom not only has a terrific selection of craft beer, but they consistently have top-notch food trucks and a great courtyard featuring comfortable seating. Just down the road at Little Village, Anthony Peebles is back playing music for you starting at 1 p.m. Little Village is a wonderful place to shop, relax, and enjoy delicious Caribbean-style cuisine and visit with your friends. And if you missed Jimmy Ward at Alice's Friday night, you are in luck because he's back this Saturday night at Alice's starting at 6 p.m. One of my favorite bands, the Shakedown, makes its triumphant return to the Taproom this Saturday night at 6 p.m. Or if you haven't experienced Uncle Ernie's since it's been rebuilt, it might be a great idea to get a table upstairs and listen to music by Jamah Terry, who plays saxophone and guitar and covers a few different genres of music. I promise you will not regret going to see him play. Skint Up is back at the House of Bourbon at 7 p.m., and if you're a night cat, Nick Shampoo is singing his heart out for you at the Salty Hobo at 9 p.m. Sunday is my favorite day to relax, drink beer, visit with my friends, and support local establishments and local musicians. I'm also quite fond of brunch. I'm not exactly sure of the time, but Burgunbarrell is now offering brunch with music by Jumbled Juke, And Alice's also has brunch that starts at 10:30 a.m. with music by Jae Rae. And then later at Little Village, Dave Dale is playing for you at 1 p.m. This concludes the music events for the weekend of March 12th through 14th. Stay tuned for community events coming up this weekend. Before I get into the other happenings, I'd like to thank Ken Schaefer, who provides the music schedules on his Facebook pages, Salty Sounds in St. Andrews, and also Oh Boy Music. Let's all show Ken some love by liking and following both pages on Facebook. Thank you so much, Ken, for everything you do. And now for some local events. Chad Gainey has now completed 3 sculptures in the Oaks by the Bay Park with his chainsaw. Check them out and ask your friends and family which one is their favorite. I don't know about you, but I saw the mermaid when she wasn't quite done, and I kind of wish she had stayed topless instead of getting a clamshell bikini top. That would have surely set a new standard for Salty St. Andrews and brought us back to our tan fanny roots at the same time. Has the gardening bug got hold of you yet? If you're buying plants in plastic, throw away flower pots. Don't throw them away. Thanks to Living Healthy Simplified, a local nonprofit that helps neighborhoods plant community gardens, promotes sustainable gardens, and gives away free native seeds everywhere, we have a pot swap bin at Little Village. You can drop your flimsy garden center plastic pots in there, and everyone that needs some can pick them up. March is Youth Art Month. The market at St. Andrews has a few special things going on. We know you might normally think of the library as being a place for books, and of course they are, and they're all about art over there too. The library is on 11th Street, and they have 2 art exhibits on display for the month of March, and they have gobs of live feed programs and workshops that kids and adults can do from home. Check it out. Tell them the St. Andrews Jezebel sent you. Okay, back to that Youth Art Month topic. Make sure to look up as you're traveling Beck Avenue. The banners on the street poles feature the artwork of our Bay County students. This is a collaboration between Panama City Quality of Life and Bay District Schools. Don't miss them. They're also downtown, only through the end of March. Have you heard the birds chirping? The next exhibit Floriopolis will be putting up on Janie's fence is Songbirds. Contact Floriopolis to find out how you can participate, or drop by on Wednesdays 12 to 5 p.m. You have a few more weeks to check out the Butterflies exhibit, sponsored by Bubba T. Bird, that's up on the fence now. We've been playing a little Can You Find game each week. This week, see if you could spy the alligator with butterflies on his nose, painted by Anime. I'm learning a lot in St. Andrews, and I'm not even new to the area. This week, I learned that the small yellow butterflies I've been seeing are called cloudless sulfur butterflies. What a weird name for such a delicate yellow butterfly. Look for them as you meander our salty streets, and they tend to perch on yellow flowers, making them a bit hard to see. There are 7 butterfly gardens in St. Andrews, and each is working to attract butterflies, thanks to the efforts of the sponsors and the volunteer garden crew from the historic St. Andrews Waterfront Partnership. They had a garden tending day last week, and there are new plants in all of them. Yay, it's Pi Day! You know, like from high school math class, 3.14 and on and on and on. As an adult, you can celebrate Pi Day by eating Pi Day on March 14th. Pecan pie, apple pie, pizza pie, of course Slice House and Enzo's will have pizza pie, and oddly, the Panama City Publishing Museum will be serving pie. And oddly again, they picked March 13th instead of March 14th. We're a little salty around here sometimes. It's a fundraiser for the museum. Bring some cash, come get a piece of pie, so we can all have nice things in St. Andrews. Little Village is kicking off St. Patrick's Day celebrations with a party on Saturday, March 13th. Yep, you guessed it. St. Patrick's Day doesn't get just a day, it's getting a whole week. Plug it into the social media of your favorite St. Andrews spots to learn where they've got something going on for St. Patrick's Day week. Too funny, a whole week, don't you just love it? Pints and Poses is Saturday mornings at Gypsy Life Wellness and Yoga. Yeah, yoga and beer, and they wrap up just in time for you to catch that Saturday's food truck at the Hub. The Salty Hobo is pairing up with our local LGBTQ Center for Pride Night at the Hobo. Mark your calendars for March 18th. We're going to have a drag queen show in St. Andrews, y'all. Have you noticed a little bit more color at some of the corners and intersections along Beck? The Quality of Life Department is currently covering unsightly electrical boxes with vinyl wraps designed by local artists and printed by Press Print Graphics. Say that 3 times fast. Can you find all 10? It's a project 2 years in the making, and we're all excited to see it come together with color. We'll give you a little info about each here on the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. Did you know that there are 2 full-service hair salons in St. Andrews? James opened up Culture Salon after the hurricane. Culture Salon is a red door located right between Native Spirit and Hitchcock Realty. Walk slow or you'll miss it. James is a Best of Bay title holder, and we are thrilled to have him keeping our St. Andrews Jezebels and Gents looking their best. Do you have a favorite weekday lunch spot in St. Andrews? I've been checking out the menu at Tap Grille. Here's one of their menu items: pecan-crusted grouper topped with brown maple butter glaze and shrimp. Oh my heavens, that is tantalizing to my taste buds. Wednesdays are usually my lunch out days. How about you? I think soon I'll have lunch at Copper Tap, and they open at 11 a.m., take the historic walking tour at 1 p.m., stroll the streets in the afternoon sun, and I might even head back to the Copper Tap for their $5 martini night. Maybe I'll see you there. We're entering the best time of year to go on the historic St. Andrews walking tour. The Publishing Museum leads the free guided tours every Wednesday and Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. Wouldn't that make for a great Friday lunch date with your office crew? Grab a working lunch at Uncle Ernie's, take the walking tour with your coworkers, and start your weekend off early in St. Andrews. This walking tour is a great way to get yourself down here during the day when the shops are open. It's healthy, it has outside fresh air, and it's light walking. It's educational, and it puts you right here where you want to be in salty St. Andrews. At Floriopolis last week, I had the pleasure of meeting with salty local Ben Liggin, who owns and runs Native Spirit Museum and Gallery located at 1101 Beck Avenue. This was a memorable educational experience, and now I'm even more curious to learn more about the early Florida natives in the St. Andrews Bay area. Stay tuned to learn more about the Calusa, or the Shell people, who the Spanish first wrote home about in the year 1513. Hi, this is Ashley with the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. We're here today with Ben Liggin of Native Spirit here in St. Andrews, here to talk about Native Spirit. Welcome, Ben. Thank you very much for being here today. What is Native Spirit, and how did it come to be in St. Andrews?
Well, good morning to you. Appreciate you having me on. Well, so I actually moved here in 1976, and the first place we moved to was down in right there at Landmark Apartments. So, you know, St. Andrews was a place that I frequented all the time back in those days. And, of course, the old blockhouse was across the street in the parking lot where you could buy the blocks of ice. And it was just a really intriguing place, neat little place that I loved to hang around in. But, of course, wasn't really thinking about Native Americans and the rich history that we have here on our bay at that particular time. That came a little bit later. I started collecting artifacts in the early 80s, and got really intrigued with the artifacts and the culture that was here on our bay for almost 1,200 years. It was a culture that actually left on our bay 32 pyramid truncated mounds. They were made out of oyster shells packed with mud. The largest one on the bay, and this is what's really intriguing, was 6 acres at the base and stood 30 foot high. And again, made with oyster shells packed with mud. They were living platforms, burial mounds, and temple mounds. Unfortunately, in 1905, C.B. Moore is the fellow who found the mounds and documented them, the archaeologist. But it wasn't too terribly long after that when we were trying to expand and get people out on the beach, where they actually parked barges up to them and made Front Beach Road and Thomas Drive out of them so that they could develop the beach. So unfortunately, that's why you don't see what they left behind. A burial mound located at the Navy base, or what's left of it. And at that burial mound, C.B. Moore uncovered 2 adult conchoidal-shaped skulls. That's, of course, where they'd wrap their baby skulls, and they'd grow in a cone shape. And that was the hierarchy. That was the deity. That's the ruling people there, obviously. About 40, 50 years ago, another local archaeological group went out there. Archaeologists went out there and uncovered a second or third, actually, adult conchoidal-shaped skull, but reinterred it. And so that is a protected mound as far as what's left of it. But all the other mounds are no longer here. And so I just wanted to bring an awareness to St. Andrews and to Bay County, really, of the incredible history that we had here, that unfortunately we don't have much as far as that remains for us to really establish where they came from and exactly how long they were here.
Oh, wow, that's really fascinating. So what were the predominant tribes that have been here?
Well, so about 500 years before the Spanish got here, the culture that left the shell mounds on our bay basically fell apart, and what was left of them ended up south of Tampa in the St. Myers area, and they were called the Calusa, which means shell people. But their ancestors were the ones that built the shell mounds here.
How did Native Spirit come to be in St. Andrews? I seem to remember there was another Native store or museum, rather, where Little Indigo Spa is now. Was that your place, sir?
Well, actually, that was Tom Dietrich's place, and that was where the Indigo Spa is, but also the building next to that, which was Floriopolis before the storm. And that's an interesting building because Alvin Walsingham, actually, that was his first five and dime, was here in St. Andrews. And from here, he went out to Funland and developed Alvin Island Store. So that's interesting history as well. But that was Tom Dietrich's museum, and it was a really nicely put together museum. He had quite a lot more space than I have. So the museum that I have is quite small. But because he had built that back then, and it was of such great interest to people, he and I had been going out on the road. I actually do some artwork. I do a series called Native Spirits. They're ceramic pieces that I make, and Tom makes reproduction weapons. So we've been doing powwows and festivals all over the Southeast, and always been wanting to open up a museum again or something of my own, and the little building came available, and so I told my wife that I was either going to do this, or if that didn't work, I'd drive a school bus. And I ain't driving no school bus. So I've just been very fortunate in that location. I opened up Native Spirit Museum and Gallery. It features Tom's artwork, my artwork, and then artwork of a number of different Native American and non-Native American artists. We also carry a large selection of crystals and rocks and some very unique things that you won't find anywhere else. But just wanted to have the opportunity to kind of get off the road some, not be on the road too much, and open the gallery, and been very fortunate.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that you made art. And what medium do you use? What kind of materials does your artwork consist of? I
use clay. They're clay figurines. They're handmade figurines. I call them Native Spirits. It's the essence of something. Like I'll have the spirit of motherhood. We'll have a baby on her back. Or the spirit of the grandmother will be holding the baby because she has to give the baby back. I have flute player. I have drummers, dancers, watchmen, just a whole different variety of pieces that I put together with clay. I fire them, and then I decorate them with leather to give them a little bit of color, and put them on a wood base.
That is so interesting. So how would you say that Native Spirit is a unique part of St. Andrews?
Well, because it affords me the opportunity to showcase the artifacts that were found here and bring awareness to the community. That's why it's a very small museum, but it has a lot of neat things to look at. And so that's I think is a great value to St. Andrews, because it is a cultural thing that helps to add to the art and the culture. Because again, there is a lot of artwork in the gallery. So
that's fantastic. And what do you enjoy the most about having your store here, of all places?
Well, I just love this area. It's a neat little area. The community, the business community is incredible. Got some great neighbors. Just everybody around here, from one end of the street to the other, we always promote each other. We try to send business to each other. There's just a great feeling of camaraderie here amongst the store, all the vendors and the gift shop owners and the restaurants and everybody. It's just a neat community. A lot of music. You guys are down here playing all the time, yourself and many others. So it's just a really neat community. I'm just very fortunate to be here.
Yes, and St. Andrews is fortunate to have Native Spirit as well. Another question for you is St. Andrews has been in a perpetual state of recovery in some way or another. I grew up here. How would you like to see it evolve in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, it has changed because we've lost a number of retail outlets and that are now bars, and one is completely vacant, and a couple are different businesses that aren't retail. So we've lost a lot of retail business down here, unfortunately. So I'd like to see us get some more retail back in here. There are some places that are being considered for that are being sold as far as some lots down the road up and down Beck Avenue. So there's opportunity for building and for, hopefully whatever they do, keep some kind of businesses or art in the bottom floors of whatever they're going to do if they start building, larger buildings. But just hope that it continues to kind of stay the way it is, because the fact of the matter is it is going to change. And it's going to change a lot in the next 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely. The only thing that really is the only constant is change. What has been some of the challenges of having a shop here in this area?
Well, the only challenge I really faced were with, myself and the way I went about it, because I really didn't have much of anything to start off with at all, except my artwork and Tom's artwork. And so I was doing other jobs at the same time and working, trying to pay the bills, and just, just that kind of struggle working through that. But then, things were going well, and then the hurricane came. But then again, I am so fortunate because I'm one of the few businesses, in St. Andrews that didn't have to leave. And it's basically because of the construct of the building. I have cement floors and block walls, so didn't suffer the damage that most other people did. So I was able to actually open up after the hurricane within 30 days. So I was very fortunate with that. And then, was doing well as could be. And then the Corona. And so we've worked through that, and things are continuing to go well. So just, again, been very fortunate.
If there is one particular moment in history that you feel that folks in St. Andrews should remember or perhaps be reminded of regarding the Native people here, what would that be?
I think when the shell mound people that were here were at their height. If we could just really see what that was all about, and the purity of this bay. To be able to make 32 shell mounds, the largest one being 6 acres at the base and 30 foot high, that's a lot of oyster shells. This bay was rich. We're part of the Dune Lake system, which means we have freshwater springs right on the Gulf. So anyone that lived here had the best of both worlds. They had all the sea life that they could imagine. They had all of the freshwater, deer, turkey, rabbits, squirrels, everything you could think. It was just an incredibly rich area at that time.
That's great. And one of my favorite things to do is read about local history. Do you have any books that you're aware of that you would recommend for readers who might be interested in reading about history of this area?
Yeah, there are a couple, and I don't recall the titles of the authors of them right now, but I have them at the gallery if you'd like to come by sometime, and I can show you the references that I have. But you can always Google it, and there'll be a lot of good things that'll pop up there too. What
are your store hours, and do you give tours of the gallery? Do you anything of that nature?
Well, basically, when people come in and I start running my mouth, they hear an earful. But no, basically, I'm open from every day except for Sunday, from 10 o'clock in the morning till at least 6 at this time of the year during the winter, till 6 or 7 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I'll stay open till 9 or 10 o'clock, depending on, what's going on, because there's a lot of people down here in St. Andrews on Friday and Saturday night.
Absolutely, especially on Saturday mornings. The market is really getting with it. Have you seen lots of folks come in and visit during the market?
Oh, yeah, the market's always been good for all of the, the businesses around here. It brings a lot of people down, and they like to walk around, especially when the weather's been nice like it has last couple of weeks. So it's been real good. Of course, we had the Salty Dog Day last weekend, and that was great. And we'll have a lot of other things coming up in the future.
And do you have any favorite places that you like to go dine at when you have some time off?
Oh, well, my favorite place, of course, was the Captain's Table across the street. And we're just, really anxious for them, as they are very anxious themselves to get back going again and get opening. We're hoping for that to be around in May is what they're looking at. So we're going to, really be rooting for that. So that was always my favorite restaurant. But I tell you, the Tap Grille is an incredibly good restaurant. The food there is excellent. And of course, we've got Little Village, we've got Uncle Ernie's, Alice's, Los Antojitos. There's so many great places down here to eat and just to enjoy your evening.
That sounds excellent. I've been to Copper Tap one time, and I really enjoyed it. So for those who might be visiting this area, part of the mission of this podcast is to also celebrate everything happening here with those who have not been here, who are visiting. Which places would you recommend visitors to check out?
Oh, well, of course, you've got the History Museum across the street. You got to check that out. But Little Village is a really neat place with a great place to sit out and enjoy some music and some good food. I would definitely check that out. And then right next door to me is Gypsy Beach Treasure Creations. Great little shop. She's got artists from all around the community that have their art there in her gallery, and it's really a great place. She has a lot of activities for kids, and she does a lot of classes for adults and young people alike, art classes. In fact, she's always got something going on, so you can check her out on Facebook.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I've heard a lot of great things about Gypsy Beach Treasure Creations. So before we go, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here at Floriopolis today. That's somewhat of a cold day. How can folks find you other than visiting your store? Can folks find you on social media? Is there a social media presence?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page. You can follow me on my Facebook page, Native Spirit Museum and Gallery. You can Google me if you want to, get good directions down here, and also take a 360 of the inside of the shop just to get an idea of what we got before you come down. You can do that. So check us out.
With spring break in full swing, I thought it would be appropriate to read an article called Calling All Tourists. The author is not listed, but this was published in the St. Andrew Bay News, March 12th in 1935, and it can be found at FloridaHiddenTreasures.com. Calling all tourists. That is what Florida is doing today, sending out a far cry that is heard through the far northwest, echoed through the mountains and valleys, and sounded in the far north. During the hectic boom days, people flocked into the state to see what it was all about. Now they come because they are realizing more and more that Florida is one of the most wonderful states in the Union and offers many possibilities and opportunities for those seeking homes or industrial sites. Not only is Florida issuing a call to the tourists alone, but to all others, but using the travelers we meet own words tourists, for they usually come through looking for points of interest and natural beauty, and always with a weather eye on business possibilities. Often has been in case of the latter, they wind up finding possibly something they had in mind when they started out. The town is filled with strangers and tourists. They stop and visit and make inquiries. Others merely pass through onto some other part of the state. Those who linger long enough soon become aware of the fact that there is not any use of looking farther, for with Panama City's resources and golden opportunities shows up this section in a most attractive manner. There is no better place than Panama City for a home or business site. No better port facilities, considering the newness of our port, excellent highways, bridges free of toll, good churches, schools, active civic organizations, and every other thing desired in a community where one would like to call their home. Thank you so much for listening to episode 19 of the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. We now have a Facebook page and an Instagram account. The pages share when future episodes will be published and more information regarding the growth of the podcast. I hope you'll visit these pages, and you can show your support by liking, following, and sharing the pages with all your salty friends. And before I say goodbye, I'd like to mention that I'm hoping to share all kinds of public events. If you're having a yard sale or you'd like me to help you promote a special happening, please DM the podcast on Facebook, or you can email me at ashley.feller@gmail.com. The podcast is now available to stream on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, CastBox, and Google Podcasts. I'd like to thank everyone who has subscribed and shared the podcast with all their salty friends. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Thank you so much, everyone, again for supporting this effort. The intro music was written by me and recorded by Dave Schwartz at Boundless Sounds on the campus of Gulf Coast State College. The show was recorded by me in my music room. Till next time, keep St. Andrews salty.
'Cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel. 'Cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew.